In this video, I'm going to go over all the specifics of threading the Bernina 880 Plus. If you have a Bernina 830, this is identical to your machine as well. So we're going to start by winding a bobbin, and let's talk about good quality thread. This is a high performance vehicle. You want to fill it full of good quality thread, like good quality gas for those high performance cars that are on the road. So keep that in mind. Definitely make sure you're not putting junk thread in this machine. It is so fine-tuned, it can tell the difference. So starting off with winding a bobbin, we can see that there are 3 different places that we can put threads. There is actually a dedicated side, the front one, for winding a bobbin. There's a little picture here to identify that, because you can actually wind a bobbin while you're sewing. So this would be the place to put it. And you do have the integrated thread stand in the machine. I love that the top-of-line machines are starting to have this. And then that way I don't have an extra thread stand on the side of the machine. So I am a big fan of thread stands. So you're going to start by putting your thread here. You're always coming up to the guide that's right above the spool. So for this one, I'm coming across here. So the thread is going directly up. It always needs to spin, not really spin, but come up the spool evenly. Next, come down to this guide here. And this is where I like to put a little tension, meaning holding it, because you can see there's a little arrow guiding me to go around this little pre-tension or counterclockwise. But hear that little click? You want to click into that little button. Next, take your empty bobbin, and you'll see that the silver markings are always on the outside. So go ahead and put that right onto that spindle. And as soon as you put it on here, you'll notice your screen changes. Do you notice here that I had my regular sewing screen, and then it goes right to the bobbin winding screen. So take your thread. Again, there's a little arrow right here to indicate that you're going to wrap it around the bobbin clockwise, 5 or 6 times here. And then this is actually a cutter. So again, the little arrow draws you to come around and then cut. So as soon as you push the start button over here, it will begin winding, and you don't have to worry about that tail. Here you can actually adjust the speed of the bobbin that is being wound and how full you want it. So today I am going to go ahead and do a full 100%, so it will go ahead and fill it to its fullest option. So you notice it does go wide, and that you can actually be sewing again while this is winding. So especially when you're embroidering, that's a great feature. You can wind up a couple bobbins. As soon as it is full, it stops winding. Pull the bobbin towards you and come over that little cutter. You're going to notice that there's cutters all over this machine. This happens to be your first one right here at the bobbin winding area. Let's go ahead and thread the machine, and then we'll put this in once we get down to the bobbin area. So honestly, I could leave the thread right here on the outside. You can use any one of these, but just so it doesn't get bumped off, I am going to switch it into one of the inner ones, and then make sure once again that I'm using the guide that's right above the spool. Now, here is something about this machine. When you thread the machine, when you do the bobbin, you need to do things and let the machine recognize what you're doing. If you try to do more than 2 things at once, you can actually confuse this machine. So here's how I want you to start. Take the thread in 2 hands, and I'm coming underneath this area. When it does, watch the screen. It's going to activate the threading, and it's showing you even what is going on. Plus, you heard the machine kind of reset. The machine is waiting for you to continue. Notice I'm still holding onto this thread, and I'm going to bring my left hand all the way across. If you look right at the top here, there is a groove that we're following all the way across and down the side. You will notice there is a little fin right here, and this is so when you're using a twin needle, you can put one on the front of this fin and one behind it. When you're using just one thread, it doesn't matter which side that actually goes in. So normally when I'm holding it, it's just going to slide down. Keeping a little tension, follow your left hand all the way down till you get down to the needle area. Next, there's only one guide at the top of the needle. Make sure that the light is on, that is white, for using your needle threader. That was activated when we came under that first guide at the very beginning. And the presser foot did go down. So we're taking our thread around the right side of this guide. Give a little tug to the left and it should hook directly in. Next, you are taking the thread up into this white area here, and it's just that easy. Just push it all the way towards the back, and you see the guide on the side of the machine is actually a thread cutter. It does have an arrow to have you bring the thread from the back towards you, and then that cuts the thread and leaves the perfect tail being held. Next, go ahead and touch the needle threader button. And that whole entire sequence is your machine being threaded through the eye of the needle perfectly. Now let's go ahead and put the bobbin in the bobbin case. Once again, this is something that when you open up the bobbin case door, that you want to let the machine finish doing this particular action. Don't be touching the screen, trying to thread it. It definitely needs to all be focused on one area of the machine at a time. So at this point, when this machine is brand new, it does come with a full white bobbin. You'll take your finger on the inside area and then just push this little button to the left. So I'm just kind of giving it a little push and it releases the current bobbin, and it is in a little guide, so just give it a gentle pull and that pulls it out of the bobbin case tension. Once again, there's only one way to put a bobbin in this machine, and it has been wound correctly because there's only one way to wind the bobbin, so everything is always correct. So go ahead and push the bobbin in until it clicks. Notice I pushed along the outside because if you push along the inside, it might release that button that is the part that holds the bobbin in there. Now this part is very important. If anything, I notice people miss getting the thread in the bobbin tension. So you can see right away that there is a groove right about 4 o'clock, 3:30-ish, and with my pink thread, it's really easy to see. Now if you have black thread, that's where you need to make sure that you are getting it all the way down in the groove. I'm kind of holding it off to the side and you can see that it has entered the groove. Next, take the thread all the way underneath and then give it enough pull that it rotates 2 full times. I'm kind of pulling up and I'm on the front part of this little bar. And as I was pulling, I could feel that it clicked into place. Now that click can still be something that takes a little practice. And yes, that 2-time revolution before you actually cut this thread is so important. Now I want to show you before I cut this thread, because there's a little cutter right here, I'm going to lift it in towards me and cut it to the perfect short length that will be brought up when you start to sew. I want to bring our little mirror over and let you see what I am seeing. See that little kind of copper looking fork? And the thread is sitting right in that groove. That is the perfect position, meaning you've threaded the bobbin case tension correctly, where the thread needs to sit before you start to sew. Now this will be slightly different when we get to our embroidery threading of this bobbin case, but every time, until you really get comfortable with this machine, is you take out your mirror like I did and let you see that that thread is actually in that little kind of groove or fork where the thread needs to sit before you start to sew. After you've double checked that, take the thread and lift it up where the cutter is and pull towards you, and it will be cut to the perfect length. Next, close the door and everything is set to sew. Since this was a brand new machine, I did put a little oil down in the bobbin area before I started to sew. And if that is the case, make sure that you hop over to our cleaning and oiling video where you can do the same. So just take your fabric, put it underneath the presser foot, and when you step on your foot control, the foot will go down on your fabric. Start with a couple locking stitches and go ahead and sew. Now it's going really slow because the speed has been set to slow. I'm going to push that all the way over so I can really see, and hear how wonderful this machine is ready to stitch. Now, when you are ready to take the fabric out, you have a scissor button. It's the one closest to your foot. Touch it one time. It will go ahead and cut the thread and lift the foot up. So just let it do its whole little dance there. And what it does is it pulls the threads to the back and then cuts them. You will only have one thread left when you are done. So if you see the same stitching on the front as you do on the back, you have threaded the machine correctly and put the bobbin in correctly. Now we're going to get into all the different functions of this machine. You're going to see me thread the machine from time to time, use that needle threader quite a few times, and of course get into all the wonderful stitches. Make sure you take the time to stitch out all your decorative stitches. You're going to notice that you have so many of them. You can touch this little guy here and start to work through all the stitches. We've got a link below where you can check out how to make the ultimate stitch book, as well as learning more about our Bernina Stitching Cosmos online course.